Yes, the Pack-a-Punch machine, a feature within zombies that has become one of the most iconic pieces of not only Call of Duty, but of pop culture as a whole. The Pack-a-Punch machine has grown to be one of the most recognizable parts of any Call of Duty mode in its entirety, and has been a key staple throughout every single zombies mode from World at War to the most recent Black Ops 6, maintaining its status as the most consistent feature in zombies history. Seeing its introduction in World at War with the final map of the game Derice, the Pack-a-Punch machine would quickly grow in popularity amongst the minute amount of zombies players at the time of the map's release. With the ability to upgrade your weapons, Call of Duty Zombies got a huge leap in progression, as not only did it allow you to work towards something much more than before, but it can also lead to the player testing out weapons they thought they might never touch in a regular match of zombies. Through this curious and investing gameplay, Zombies players quickly found that some weapons within the mystery box had secret abilities that nobody ever even knew about, with their secret abilities being hidden behind the all-new and captivating Pack-a-Punch machine. However, this seemingly was lost for a very long time in Zombies, and fortunately has only just recently been brought back within Black Ops 6. So in this video, I wanted to cover the complete history of these weapons that received extremely unique and interesting abilities that diverge from the standard increased damage and higher ammo capacity. Before we get into that though, I want to set the bar straight in terms of interesting Pack-a-Punch abilities to ensure we are on the same page. When I refer to special Pack-a-Punch abilities, I am talking about weapons that receive abilities that are separate from their base gun when Pack-a-Punch. This could be as simple as turning a gun that was once semi-auto into a full auto machine, or it could be things like turning normal bullet weapons explosive. But with that, let's dive into the first game that featured the Pack-a-Punch, World at War. Now the thing about World at War is that the Pack-a-Punch machine only existed on one map, as it was introduced on the final map of the game, which of course was Derice. This meant that some weapons, notably weapons like the Arasaka, Springfield, and even the sawed-off double-barrel shotgun, would not feature within the map, with Pack-a-Punch abilities unknown without hacking the game to find hidden code that could suggest their abilities. However, the first and probably most well-known of these Pack-a-Punch abilities is of course what happens when you Pack-a-Punch the starting pistol, which in this game was the Colt M1911. When Pack-a-Punch, this thing would turn into a beastly explosive weapon, transforming it from a boring and honestly relatively useless starting weapon to a weapon that could be viable for high round attempts. This starting pistol Pack-a-Punch explosive variant would begin one of the biggest trends in Zombies history, as you will soon listen on, and was a key piece of Derice to this day. That isn't the only special explosive, however, as the Panzerschreck, a beastly launcher that is only seen in World at War, would go from a boring semi-auto weapon to a full auto machine of doom. This thing could hold up to 3 bullets at one time and could be shot full auto, making it one of the most fun weapons in the entire game to just mess around with on Derice. Now, I was not entirely sure if I wanted to count this, but if you Pack-a-Punch the M1 with the grenade launcher attachment and turn it into the M1000, the grenade launcher attachment will actually be able to hold 3 shots at one time without reloading as well, and additionally can be fired full auto. Obviously, this is not as strong as the Panzerschreck, however, I did want to mention it because technically the Pack-a-Punch changes its abilities. And finally, the last Pack-a-Punch gun in this game to receive a special variant was the M1A1 carbine that, when stuck in the Pack-a-Punch machine and turned into the Witterson's RC1, would become full auto compared to its base version. But those are all the special Pack-a-Punch abilities of World at War Zombies. With it only featuring on one singular map, the amount of special weapons in this game is actually pretty impressive, and it kickstarted a trend that would be seen for years of Zombies to come. Moving into Black Ops 1, the developers seemed to go absolutely insane with the amount of weapons that had special abilities within this game. Kicking it off, we obviously have the 1911, which features the first ever appearance of the iconic Mustang and Sally, in which the weak pistol actually comes dual wielded, adding onto its explosive capabilities. Combining this with the newly added perk PhD Flopper, the 1911 easily was one of the best weapons in the game and could very easily carry you into the 40s and beyond. But staying on track with the pistols, both the CZ75 and its dual-wield form would turn into fully automatic pistols instead of a regular semi-auto with the Calamity and Jane. It honestly is not the best, but it is still really cool to see a weaker weapon like the CZ75 get an upgrade like this. One of the most iconic guns in Call of Duty Zombies, and one of my personal favorites of all time, the AUG, has a really cool Pack-a-Punch ability that gets added to the weapon when it turns into the AUGsome. The weapon weapon receives a shotgun underbarrel attachment when pack-a-punched, which while it honestly is not the best whatsoever, still provides a nice addition and more ammo to the AUG in the form of shotgun shells. The FNFAL is next, and when pack-a-punched into the Epic Wind, this thing becomes a 3-round burst for some reason, which is a really odd thing to add to the game, but it's still cool to see nonetheless. The M16 turns into one of the most cool pack-a-punch names ever, the Skull Crusher, and additionally gets the added bonus of a grenade launcher underbarrel, which is iconic to the weapon and will continue into other games as well. The G11, which honestly might be one of the most forgotten guns of all time in my opinion, additionally sees a separate pack-a-punch ability when turned into the G115 generator. This 3-round burst weapon suddenly becomes a fully automatic weapon and makes the G11 a somewhat viable weapon that it once was not necessarily associated with. The wallbite that is often discredited in Kino der Toten, the PM63, actually has a cool feature when pack-a-punched, as it turns into a dual-wield weapon known as the Tokyo and Rose, which is one of my personal favorite names of all time for a pack-a-punched weapon. Despite their cool name, the ammo count and the fact that the base weapon kinda sucks doesn't help its reputation, and unfortunately it's not the best. Additionally, the HS-10, yet another forgotten shotgun, does additionally receive a dual-wield variant when pack-a-punched, turning it into the Typhoid and Mary. Again, the weapon has extremely limited ammo, but is super fun to play and mess around with for that little time that you get with it. The Spaz 12 gets a fully automatic variant with its pack-a-punch, however it does have the same problem with the previously mentioned weapon in that its ammo count is just unfortunately lacking in a major way. But it's still extremely fun to mess around with, as it can also reload all of its 24 bullets in one shell. The Olympia within the spawn room of the maps actually has a really unique ability too, as when it's pack-a-punched it gains the ability of incendiary rounds, which honestly doesn't do a whole lot but is a cool flare I guess. Amnesia on top. The launcher known as the M72 Law actually gets a very similar upgrade to the previously mentioned Panzerschreck from World at War, as it transforms into a fully automatic beast that, when combined with PhD, is actually one of the best weapons in the game for the mid rounds. The ballistic knife in this game sees one of my favorite special abilities of all time in any Call of Duty Zombies game, as when pack-a-punched, the knives that can be shot out can be used to revive downed teammates instantly, which is such a cool feature in my opinion that really goes to show the creativity of what can be accomplished with these weapons. It does not stop there however, as the well-known crossbow within this game can be pack-a-punched into the awful Lawton, transforming it into a monkey bomb style weapon whenever it is shot. It is such a cool feature that has been very popular amongst those who play Black Ops 1, as it is a key staple to the high rounds of maps like 5. Now that is it for the base weapons, however there is one pack-a-punched wonder weapon that actually receives different abilities when put in the machine. The VR11 from Call of the Dead, despite being one of the worst wonder weapons ever, actually gives the player the ability to shoot a teammate with it to give them a temporary insta-kill, which is yet another example of the creativity that can be utilized with a feature like this. Whew, okay, that was all the special variants of all the Black Ops 1 guns. It almost seems like half the weapons in the game had those special variants, which I find so cool, as I personally believe that the weapons should be diverse and unique. Now, as we move into Black Ops 2, it is no surprise that there is admittedly less of these weapons, however it is certainly difficult to beat Black Ops 1. I did just want to quickly mention that almost every gun in this game can be double pack-a-punched for 2500 points to mix and match certain attachments. So in order to minimize confusion, I will only be including what is on the base gun when pack-a-punched once. I should also mention that some guns like the Olympia, M14, and M16 reappear in this game and have these same abilities, so I will not be mentioning them in this section, but I just did want to make sure they get the credit. But I will be talking about the M1911, as of course it gets the Mustang and Sally variant once again, which unfortunately is not actually as good in this game, as none of the maps it features on have PhD flopper, which was an essential for the weapon back in Black Ops 1. The other starting pistol that features in this game, however, is extremely well known and popular, being of course the Mauser C96, which turns into the Boomhilda when pack-a-punched, and mimics the abilities of the Raygun Mark II. Sticking with Origins though, one of the more popular map exclusive weapons on this map, the MG08, gets turned into the Magna Collider and has the unique ability of having the bullets ricochet off of enemies to collide with others. Get it? This is part of the reason why the weapon is actually as good as it is, and is yet another great example of the creativity that they used for a weapon. For a game that lacks PhD flopper in almost all of its maps, they kind of went insane with the launchers. As for instance, the RPG receives a total of 8 rounds in its magazine and turns full auto. Like, that is literally a nuke in itself, but it gets better as the War Machine, which previously actually really sucks when unupgraded, turns into a extremely viable weapon when pack-a-punched, as the grenades it shoots explode on impact instead of dancing around the whole map. But with that is pretty much all of the unique pack-a-punch weapons for Black Ops 2. Obviously, like I said, there were weapons like the ballistic knives and FAL that feature, however, I did not want to bring it up again as they have the same special abilities. With all that being said though, Black Ops 2 did still have a respectable amount of unique abilities when pack-a-punched, but now it's time for Advanced Warfare. Alright, so let me check how many we got for Advanced Warfare. Oh, wait. So yeah, that's right. Advanced Warfare has literally 0 unique weapons when pack-a-punched, and not even the starting pistol, which is just genuinely tragic. It's probably because in this game you have to pack-a-punch your gun a total of 25 times. In conclusion, Advanced Warfare equals boring and has 0 unique weapons to its arsenal. Moving on. Black Ops 3 Zombies is regarded as one of the best zombies modes of all time, so it has to have some unique features to it. Right? Well, it does actually, but most certainly not as many as the previous titles, and I believe this game is the foreshadowing of the initial downfall of this trend. However, Black Ops 6 features 2 separate starting pistols, the MR6 and the Bloodhound, that both transform into dual-wield weapons that can be used as explosive weapons in the game, which is an expected feature at this point. And the only other weapon that has a unique feature is the NX Shadow Claws, a weapon unique to Gorod Krovi that actually kinda sucks, but when pack-a-punch can be used very similarly to the ballistic knives, in which it can revive down players through one singular shot. Besides this weapon, however, literally almost every single gun in this game gets the same attachments when pack-a-punched. Like, literally 99% of the guns get extended mags, FMJ, and of course more damage. That's literally it. I love Black Ops 3 and all, however, I just wish some of the pack-a-punch variants were cooler and more unique, and unfortunately this most certainly marks the decline of exclusive pack-a-punch abilities in Treyarch Zombies. Now, one of my favorite zombie modes of all time does not actually feature a lot of pack-a-punch exclusive abilities, as Infinite Warfare Zombies only actually features a singular special upgrade, and that is of course for the starting pistols. At least they did better than Exo Zombies by adding this feature, but a cool aspect about it is that if you manage to double pack-a-punch them, they will actually become akimbo and will not give you any splash damage whatsoever, even without PhD or bomb stoppers, as I should say. Super cool feature that is rewarding for completing the double pack-a-punch quest on the map. However, that is literally it for Infinite Warfare Zombies. Okay, so now we have reached World War II Zombies, and I have to say, this game knocked it out of the park with special pack-a-punch abilities. There is genuinely so many within this game, and each of them are so unique, so let me speedrun the lesser cool ones, and then we can get into the really unique ones. The P08 becomes a 4-round burst pistol instead of a semi-auto. The 1911 becomes the Bacon and Eggs, a traditional starting pistol explosive upgrade. The M1 Grand becomes a 2-round burst. The SVT-40 becomes fully automatic, which is the same with the M1A1 carbine. Okay, so there is genuinely so much to cover for this game, so I'm low-key gonna speedrun through these as well, or else we'd be sitting here for an hour. The machine pistol, when upgraded, has a chance to create electrical bursts on hitting zombies, which is extremely similar to that of the LED MG and LMG within the game, and the Type 38. The Ravenclaw upgraded has a chance for a literal raven to spawn in and attack and kill up to 5 nearby zombies, which is such a cool feature in my opinion. The NZ41 has a unique upgrade ability that sees zombies being trapped in a quote fiery blaze when shot with a headshot, and the KG M21 is a weapon that cannot be reloaded until emptied when pack-a-punched. However, it technically has infinite ammo and has the chance of a glowing bullet to be fired, which can do extra damage. The Ribbe roll is a fully automatic weapon that fires explosive rounds when pack-a-punched that do not damage the player whatsoever. Upgrading the EMP44 gives a secret ability, as if the player reloads while the gun is emptied, it will actually discharge 3 bubbles of energy that can be charged and eventually exploded. The Irma EMP is similar, as it additionally discharges bubbles when reloaded from empty, however the bubbles will do electrical damage instead of explosive. The Austin upgraded can have a chance to cause large explosions on zombie kills, and upgrading the Beho Via can give the ability of stunning zombies upon a headshot, and by meleeing these stun zombies, you can actually cause them to explode. The Bren has a defensive bubble shield that deploys when reloading from empty, identical to the abilities of the MG15, and the Lewis upgraded has potential to create a bullet fire burst trap. The GP-MG gets explosive rounds when pack-a-punched, and the MG81 has a chance for shots to freeze zombies when upgraded. The Chateau Row allows the players to shoot teammates for an electrical force field to build up around them and explode if zombies get too close, and the VMG 1927 has the chance to set zombies on fire randomly. The Delisle has rounds that sticks to surfaces and instantly headshots nearby zombies, and the iconic blunderbuss can shoot 3 glowing projectiles that will eventually explode. And finally, the crossbow gains explosive rounds when upgraded. Holy crap, that was way too much. I'm not kidding, I am writing this script right now and I had to step away multiple times to continue this because that was just too much. World War II zombies and their upgrades could honestly be their own videos, and I love how unique and creative some of them are. Like, this is what I mean when I say I love these features. Who knew this game had so many weapons? But hey, World War II is in Game Pass now, so you guys can go test these out for yourselves now for free, assuming you have Game Pass, of course. But anyways, moving into Black Ops 4, we obviously got the Welling, which turns into the standard explosive dual-wield pistol like every other game. The Strife Pack-a-Punch turns into the Z Harmony and gains a fully auto variant, which is similar to the upgrade of the SX Model 07, as it additionally turns full auto. The Hitchcock actually gets explosive rounds when pack-a-punched into the Waking Nightmare, which is really strange as it is one of the only weapons in the game to do so. And finally, the M1897 actually turns into a grenade launcher when pack-a-punch for some reason. Black Ops 4 actually had a pretty decent selection of pack-a-punch abilities, and while they most certainly cannot compare to World War II, it is pretty unique. Now, unfortunately, every single game from Cold War to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies has literally no unique pack-a-punch variant whatsoever, which I find to be really sad actually. At least a pistol having an explosive ability would have been nice, but of course the Warzone weapons could never have such an ability, so there was literally none in any of the game. However, one of the cooler things within the most recent game, Black Ops 6, is that they added these variants back to the game, and although not crazy, still is really cool to see after this time. The GS45 returns as the Mustang and Sally of this game, so to speak, being named the Sally and 4th now. And additionally, the sniper known as the LR762 adds an explosive variant when pack-a-punched that is similar to the effects of the GS45, but feels more like the Scavenger from Call of the Dead. However, that is it for the pack-a-punch exclusive abilities. I'm sorry that it may have seemed like I rushed through some of the entries, especially with World War II, as some of the abilities could have large deep dives that could make their own videos. And I'm also sorry that I probably mispronounced like half of those guns. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please let me know. But with that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.